glad to be speaking with you. First of all, I missed your face in person. It's nice to see you over Zoom, but I miss seeing you actually in person. I miss the Heights. I miss being in that theater with everybody. It has been so fantastic what you guys have been doing with these on-demand shows. And this next one you're directing, Blue Sky. Tell me a little bit about this play. I know that it's from a friend of yours, is it not? Written by a friend of yours?
Actually, it's a friend of a friend, Tom
Okay.
Levy, who has been at the theater for probably about 30 years, submitted this play to me that a friend of his who, when he's retired and lives in Florida now, he sent this to Tom and said we could do it if we wanted to do it with no royalties, nothing. He's written a number of plays. His name's Bruce Karp, and he wrote this play. Tom submitted to me and said, "You want to submit it to the rest of the board?" I looked at it and said, "I'd be interested in doing it." So then we went from there, and I met with him, and I had lunch with him. He was up here because he was doing some business up here, and so we arranged for a lunch with
Bruce?
him. With Bruce.
Nice.
And Bruce used to come see all our shows. I mean, so he knows our theater.
So he knows how the Heights operates, and he feels very safe placing Clear Blue Sky in your hands to take and bring to life.
Yeah.
That's
and
awesome.
It has been, I don't know where, but it has been done. I'm not sure if it was done as a full production or a Zoom production or whatever, but recently it has been done at least one, maybe two other places, I think.
Okay. Well, now, what was it about Clear Blue Sky that you're like, okay, I definitely want to bring this to the board and I would like to direct it?
First of all, when you read it, it read very naturally. It wasn't like some of these original plays you read and you're like, you may have to work things. It's written very, very well. The fact that it's about people in Maine during the year 2009 to 2010, and the fact that it's about how 9/11 had affected every single one of the seven principals in one way or another, or was affecting them 9 and 10 years later. Since it's the 20th anniversary of 9/11, I thought it was very topical, and it's a very challenging piece for the performers. So, I mean, everything's because it's written so well, and because it does get into it. It starts out on the light side, but then it does get heavy because
it's hard not to get a little bit heavy when the topic is 9/11.
Exactly.
It's hard not to delve into those deeper themes. And was it difficult and was it tough material for the cast to take on, particularly because you have a cast of veterans? So this is something where it hits a little bit differently, maybe even more personally in a way to them.
It hit different people in different ways, because if you think of what their age was 20 years ago, I mean, we have one, the youngest member of the cast is 16. So he wasn't even born.
Yeah. Wow.
And then we have other people who, at the time, they were in high school. Then we have, and one, couple that were in college or just out of college. And then two who were 50 or close to it then. So, I mean, everybody has different perspectives on it, what they remember.
Right.
So it also, in fact, we had a lot because of the whole time frame with theater, and even when we first started with this, we did the first 2 weeks of rehearsal were all done on Zoom.
Of course, yeah.
And then we had 2 weeks of rehearsal in the theater, and then we started filming. With filming, we're actually the first. No, I take that back, because with Cinderella, they were able to film without masks, but everything else is filmed with masks.
Yeah.
And with this, I think think I think a lot of the impact, if we had to do this with masks, with people's faces, it would lose it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're all fabulous vocal, they have great vocal talents, but
When you
it
cover somebody's face or half their face, it's hard, and it's a visual medium of which you're looking at them. It makes it harder. You have to adjust to where the rest of your body is expressing it. It's strange because it kind of goes opposite of what you're taught, even in theater where you can be a little bit larger than film or TV. First of all, now as theater actors, you're acting for film and TV because it's being filmed. So you have to keep everything more contained than you would on
yeah.
a stage. But now because of that, you also can't be as use your body to express what you feel if your face is covered, because again, you're doing this in a smaller frame. I mean, it brings its own challenges. So thankfully, yeah, you didn't have to do this with masks, which is great that you could at least then really
And
capture everybody's faces. It's so interesting what you brought up earlier too, the idea that obviously 9/11 is going to hit everybody differently, whether you're the same age. It's an experience that depending on
mhm,
how each person has lived their life, it will affect them differently. But to have such generational divides, like
yeah,
it's interesting to me to speak with someone who's younger than me that wasn't alive for 9/11,
yeah,
and how I realize, oh, this is how my parents, when they talk to me about like JFK's assassination or something, how that must feel, because for me, I'm so disconnected to it. It's just
yeah,
something that happened in history. It's horrible, but like it was just a piece
yeah.
of
I mean,
history.
yeah,
So for people to be on the stage with someone who experienced it versus somebody who grew up knowing the horror of it, but only through written history books, like
yeah,
it's so crazy to live on both sides of that
yeah.
line.
And the fact that in this play,
Principles.
or each of the seven principles, some of them are people who have, because it takes place in Maine. Um, out of the let's see, out of the seven, four are Maine natives, and three are people who are fairly new to the area.
Hmm.
Two of them had moved from the city. The third one of the new people, you're not really sure where she came from, but she's only been there a couple of years. But each of them is affected in a different way because two of them, a mother and a son, came from New Jersey, and and the mother had been working in the city.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I don't want to say too much because it'll
Of
be a
course.
spoiler alert on like her character.
Yeah.
But it all affects how you know in the play it affects not it affects their personal relationships, their relationships within their own families,
Hmm.
their relationships with their jobs. And it sort of every person, and you find out gradually through the play how it has affected them
Right.
and how each of them has affected the other, the other characters.
Right.
Because
How they've had an effect on each other.
I mean, and like some of them don't have any effect on other people, but
Yeah.
like three of the characters are all part of one family. Another two characters are part of another
Right.
family.
Hmm.
Then there's one character is one of the characters' bosses. One of the characters is a reporter for a newspaper there. So I mean, it's the
All different kinds of
intertwining.
relationships that are
Yeah,
shown and how they're affected.
yeah,
And I do like the fact that this takes place in Maine, just because so many stories and so much, so many films, things that we've seen that are related around 9/11 are based in New York City, which is understandable because that's where it happened. But it is also nice to step away and remember, realize, and also view how that event had an effect on people that aren't close to the city, that they weren't
yeah.
in the hub of it or in the heart of it, but it still was something that affected people across the United States. That you didn't have to
Well,
be
the
in New
whole
York or New Jersey to be
and the
affected by it.
part of it in this is, um, and everybody forgets that Portland was one of the airports
Right.
that one of the planes came out.
Right. Yeah.
That has a very strong bearing on
You're right.
why
I
I'm not.
forgot. I forgot. 100%. I forgot. So yeah, you're right. Absolutely. And now this is not obviously the first. This is not the first thing that you've directed for the Heights players. You've been involved in the Heights for many, many years, but this is obviously a different type of experience. Like you were saying earlier, and being able to at least film this one without masks. But how did your approach to taking this play on differ because of the fact that you weren't going to have an audience? It was going to have to be filmed. So much of it is so not like a normal theater
What
experience.
what has helped me on this was the first streaming thing we did was Little Women that I directed.
Oh, that's right. Wow, that was the first one. That's right.
Yeah, but the thing that I was thankful for with that was I was also in the Murder Mysteries, which
Yep.
was streamed after that,
Yep.
and actually was filmed before Little Women. So we filmed
Oh.
because with this whole thing, it's like regular movies. Something could be released 2 years ago and just come out.
Yeah.
So fortunately, Noel McDuffie had a great staff and very knowledgeable people working for him. So I sort of learned on that. So the whole thing with film and what you need to do as far as a director, as far as performers, because I will be the first one to admit that this was like, can I really do this? Because
Yeah.
and also the fact that Little Women, it was written, it was a 45-minute version, but I said this is going to need something else in it, so I incorporated music, from the Civil War, etc., into that.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I haven't directed. Yeah, I think the last time I directed non-musical was probably about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's it was when we did the Royal Family, and so to me it was a challenge that way.
Right. Because it's a different type of show when you have the music, when you have the songs, there's a whole different kind of feel, and it flows differently when you have to have those song numbers. But when it's just a straight play, it's a different approach to how you put that together.
One thing about it, though, that with this that was nice was the fact that I think the most out of the 7 principals, the most people out of those 7 that are in a scene is 3.
That's the family. That's 3 characters together, right?
No, it wasn't the family. No, it was.
Oh.
It's because 3 of the characters work together. There was also yes, the family. I'm sorry. Yes, the family was 3 scenes, but most of the scenes involved, like I said, 3 people max.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more 2 people scenes. So it was easy to work that way. It was actually even easier, like even with the Zoom rehearsals, where you're only dealing with,
Right.
you're not dealing with the Brady Bunch. I was called the Brady Bunch
with the 9 million screens of the for sure.
Brady Bunch theater. But, it was very easy to do those.
Okay.
Because of that, and it was actually easier on the cast because not everybody had to be there all the time. All the
time. Of course, yeah.
We could stagger stuff, and like even with the filming, we had problems getting camera operators and stuff for certain days, and so it took a little bit longer to film, and we had to film stuff. We had planned on filming everything in order. We had to sort of piece it together,
mm-hmm.
which we did with Little Women too. But we hadn't thought we were going to have to do this, but this we did. But it also actually made the filming easier.
Oh my gosh. It's exciting to think that, to get back into the theater and to have that experience of putting on the show together and having the audience back there to breathe that life into the theater. But this has also been such a wonderful experience that you guys have done by filming it and allowing people to still enjoy theater in the way that they can. I mean, is this something where you think, you know what? Granted, we're all going to go back in person, but like maybe once a year we film one of our productions and we allow it to be on demand later.
Some directors have said that they would like to try more of this, that they weren't really interested in doing a main stage show. They wanted to continue doing some of this stuff. So
it's a great option to have, and it allows you to explore even more. Maybe in the off season, it's a couple of on-demand shows just to keep the
yeah,
people coming back and watching. But it's wonderful that you guys saw this opportunity, and instead of being like, all right, well, I guess we'll wait. It's like, no. We found a way to bring this to the people, and it's amazing position. But I'm so excited. So Clear Blue Sky, when can we expect that to be available? When is that going to be up for viewing?
It will be available on July 16th.
Awesome. Okay.
Run for 3 weeks, like everything else has been going.
Perfect. And this, obviously, the subject matter of this play is heavy. Whether somebody found a way to make certain things funny, it is just heavy subject matter.
But there's it's not like there's nothing in it that's like it isn't really
right.
It's little stuff,
Right. It's hard. It's hard to make a comedy out of 9/11. It's an incredibly tragic, and still, like you said, it's the 20th anniversary, but for many people, it doesn't feel like 20 years. And so it still has that kind of heavy, almost more recent feeling to it. When you're directing the show, when you were reading it, and I don't want you to spoil anything, but if you can say something about a particular scene or moment in the play that you can't wait to have the audience experience because it impacted you so much.
I have connected during all this with a good friend, like I think a lot of people, a person who was one of my really, really, really good friends in high school. And and now we email each other like every day, every other day, whatever. And she said something about when we were talking, when I mentioned this, and she got talking about a person who we went to high school with, who died in the Twin Towers. Mm. And it was funny that she mentioned it because I had been thinking about it during rehearsals. And one of the things that has the biggest impact, and one of the biggest impacts on me, and in effect, it's in 2 of the scenes, is the reading of the list, the standard annual reading of the list, and how that affects everybody. And it's something that's, it's like, all right, no death or people's reactions to death ever goes away. But this is something that's always there every single year. And just the fact that it's in the play, and the fact that and how you find out later on in the play why the reading of the names is important to several characters, because it did affect their lives, it did affect their jobs, it did affect, this was not just something that was like, oh, isn't this, it happened, to be it. Everybody's going to remember it. Anybody is going to remember it. But like, as far as, and there's several scenes where it does get on the heavy side.
Yeah.
But thank God I got fabulous actors.
Yeah. And you also worked with the actors are veterans, which I'm sure that working on material like this, there is a sense of respect that you want to give it because of what it is. But also when you're working with veterans that have lived through something that, for me personally, I don't understand because I haven't enlisted. So it gives it another layer of almost reverence and respect that these people are kind of opening up those emotional wounds and laying themselves emotionally bare in front of us in a whole new way, or in a whole extra way, because of this material.
And also the reason why Bruce Karp, the playwright, wrote this was because we read an article about someone who worked, I think, at Dulles Airport and had a similar experience as the protagonist in this had. And once again, I don't want to give away too much.
Of course.
But it, and it was actually very nice because all during the Zoom rehearsals, we had the the privilege of having the playwright on the Zooms for some of them. So it
Amazing. Wow, that's
actually,
fantastic.
it actually gave um, us a whole new perspective. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, usually most of the shows that I've directed in the past, the playwrights have been dead at least 25 years. Because I like old stuff.
It's nice to have him there. Although I guess it's also adds a little bit of nervousness. You're like, well, I hope you like what I'm doing with this.
Oh no, he's a wonderful person and very, just a nice man.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, he obviously trusted you by giving you this to begin
yes,
with. So that obviously is a huge vote of confidence right there, where he was like, yes, I will hand you my baby, my work of art for you to
yeah,
bring to life.
yeah.
Well, I'm so excited for everybody to see this July 16th. Clear Blue Sky will be available to stream. We also have a new Heights season starting in September as well. Tom, it has been so wonderful speaking with you. It's so nice to, even if though it's virtually, it's so nice to see your face again. And I cannot wait to see you all in person.
Can't wait to see you and and everybody else.
Yeah. Oh, soon, soon.
So,
Congratulations on another show, and I'm so happy for you guys, and I'm so excited that you've been able to continue giving people art and stories and a little bit of an escape and a reprieve from what has been an insane year, that they get this moment to enjoy themselves.